What's up, Inkie peeps? It's Adele from Inkie Quill, and we're today diving back into my childhood, and I'm so freaking excited. I thought I would show you my absolute two favourite books from my childhood and how they have kind of shaped my style and just my love of creating stuff. So like I've said before, I was a huge nerd growing up, still am, and nerds represent. Let's just I would much prefer to stay inside and practice my hand lettering instead of going outside and riding a bike or playing. I was a book person from the get-go. So I stumbled upon this book, which I have a copy at my parents' somewhere, I think. I tried looking for it. I couldn't see it. I thought it would be with this one, but it wasn't. So I bought this second copy from Thrift Books, and I think it was about $5 or so. It's got some washi tape on it, and it's not in print anymore. It was made in, let's see if we can see a date, 96. Wow, was it printed in Gosford? Oh no, there's a Scholastic factory in Gosford. Anyway, I digress. So this was probably, I got this when I would have been 7 or so, and I used to copy the drawings out of this, and I just loved it. So I thought I'd give you a flip through as to what it looks like, and it really showed me a lot of art, or drawing theory, or art theory, I guess you could say, with things like shading and different styles. I love this page, and I think it's important because it shows you how you can draw the exact same topic in several different styles. So you can apply this to your own art journaling or painting or just drawing, and try and draw one thing in several different styles to try and find which style you like the best, or which bits of each style you like the best. I love this. This is where my love of maps came in, and you'll if you follow me for a while, you'll know that I'm map mad, and you'll see why in this book. So it goes through all the different pens and pencils and that type of thing. I'll show you some of my favourite pages. I used to sit and stare at this page for so long and just look at all of the, let's see if we can focus. Just look at all of the little things hiding in the trees. When I was younger, I used to draw really intricate little pictures like this. I'm going to try and see if I can find any of my old drawings at my parents' house. I have to go through some boxes and things. And then it talked about faces, and I liked this because it showed that once you know the rules, if you could call them that, then you can break them and you can make your quirky little faces. So I think it's important. Sometimes I get caught up in comparing myself to other creatives, and because I'm not good at drawing faces. That's one thing I'm really not good at, unless I have a guide, unless I have something I can model off or a photo I can look off. And I think that I get caught up in trying to make my face so realistic that it might be nice to go towards some of these quirky looking people instead, because, you know, it's all about finding our own individual style. So then it goes on about like people and animals, but I'll show you. I used to love this page. It was all about perspective, vanishing points. So at home I would just draw like my backyard and my room. I used to draw my room all of the time, and I'd get my ruler and measure out all of the lines. And I love this book. Now, where is the page I'm looking for? I also loved this one because it showed you about the depth and like perception as to if you're holding something closer, your hand is bigger, and that's something that I'd never thought about before. But so you can see here like the little streets and things. This was right up my alley. So I'm using this book as a bit of inspiration. I love these. These are my favourites. A bit of inspiration today, and I'm going to go back to my old kind of childhood drawing style and do a bit of map drawing in my journal. So that's that one. This is the other one that started my love of hand lettering, and same, this is not in print anymore. This was in 1992, so I would have gotten this one before here. I wouldn't have got it in 92, but I remember having this when I was probably about 5 years old, I think. And it's just got a whole lot of different alphabets. I did look on thrift books, and this person has a couple of different lettering books, so you might be able to find one of hers on eBay or something if you're interested. But it just goes through, and it's just got, whoops, all these different alphabets. So I would just sit and copy these alphabets and then write titles and book covers. Oh, I was mad for book covers. And I would just try and put my own style in it. So when I've said I've been hand lettering for a long time, I've been hand lettering since I was about 5. This was my afternoon activity, just copying alphabets, because that was cool to me. So these are the 2 books that I'm working with today, and I'm going to use my little Jane Davenport journal. So this is, let me get this. I've got all my journals just in front of me. It's really handy to have that shelf there. But this is my colour journal that you've been seeing me work through, and it's the same journal as that. It's the one that I bought for the 100-day project for 2019, however, failed at atrociously because it was first trimester and I didn't feel too well, and the motivation for keeping up a daily thing was just not there at all. So I'll give you a quick flip. I think I've posted these on Instagram maybe, but I just wanted to start a journal that was kind of like my colour journal but a bit more painty, I guess, and just kind of use it more like an artist's sketchbook. So I kept up with it for about a week, I think, a week or so, and then it just kind of fizzled. That was a process video, and then here we are. We're all rough drafts of the people we're becoming. I like that quote. So, oh, hello random heart. That's nice of you to pop in. But I really love the paper of this journal. It's nice and thick, and it's very white, and I much prefer a crisp white page than, let's see, this is a bit of a journal, current journals that I'm working in, rather than this Dilutions paper, which is, you can see the difference, it's more of a creamy, and the Dilutions paper is really smooth, like really smooth, whereas this has a little bit of grab to it, a little bit of grit. So I'm going to fast forward the next bit and do a voiceover so that you don't have to watch my big head and very slow line drawing. But I think I might leave, no, I think I'll go on this page. I'll go on to the next page, and I'm going to draw some sort of map thing. Now, part of me just wants to dive in and do it straight away with a felt tip black pen. Part of me wants to do it in pencil first, but I don't know if that part can be bothered to rub out all of the pencil afterwards. So I'm going to see what I feel like using, and we're going to do a little drawing today for something different, and I might do find some of my all-time favourite fonts and write something down the bottom. I loved the slime one. And yeah, we'll take it from there. So I hope you enjoy this video and a bit of a peek into what helped shape my creative being. That sounds so stupid. My creative process. There you go. All right, let's get drawing. And then I also drew inspiration from this book, which is my favourite picture book of all time when I was younger. We looked at it when I think I was in year 2 at school. It's called My Place, and each page is 10 years ahead in the future, and it shows the same place where all of these people live, and it's just an incredible book. It's an Australian book. If you haven't heard of it, I suggest looking it up. There is a flip through, I think, on YouTube of part of it, so I will put that link in the description below. I couldn't find my copy. I know I have it in this house somewhere, but I've put it somewhere very special, and you guys know I love my maps, and so this book has forever just been one that I've drooled over. So this is the same location, and every 10 years the next person that lives in that location draws the map of the town that they live in, and it's a really interesting kind of historical look at how places have changed over the last 200 years, especially here in Australia, and the Indigenous people that live here. And it's a beautiful book. So keep this in mind when you watch the process part of this video, because I did draw a lot from this one. So I have decided to do a map of my childhood town. I grew up in Sydney in a place called, on the northern beaches, in a place called Manly Vale. Let me know if there's any inklets from the northern beaches out here. But I found a map just on Google Maps of my old street as well as my old school, because I was only a few blocks away from where I went to school. And so I stole Aaron's mini ruler, because I knew usually I wouldn't do the pencil lines first. I'd just go all in and just grab the pen and just go crazy with it. But alas, I thought I better pencil this one out first, just in case. And then I'm using an Artline felt tip pen to do all of the black lines in. I decided to use this pen as opposed to my normal Pilot G2, because I've been having a couple of smudging issues with my Pilot. I think I've got one that's a little bit leaky, like not completely leaking, but on its way to exploding ink everywhere, and should probably go in the bin, but it's still working. And I knew this felt tip wasn't going to smudge. It wasn't a real wet, juicy pen. So I decided to use that one instead, and I'm not worrying too much about the roads being the same width. I'm trying, but I'm not measuring out that part of it, just because once the whole map's done, it doesn't really matter. As you can see, the curvy roads are a little bit wonky, but at least I've got the main straight bits in. Off camera, I have written in all of the names of my streets, just because I needed to put my big head over the top of it. It was a lot easier, and I decided to just do it in a block font to make it stand out a lot. Up the top there, those skinny little bits, we lived really close to Manly Dam, which was this huge body of water. We used to go for walks down there all the time with our Aussie cattle dog, Happy, and it's got lots of little walkways and paths and things, so I wrote some of them in there. It's also got a little creek, so I decided to grab my, is it Stabilo? Stabilo. I think that's how you pronounce it. Pens that I bought ages ago. I bought them when I first found the world of planners. This would probably be 5 years ago. And I bought myself a Kiki K ring-bound violet coloured planner, and I used it for a short amount of time. We've gone out of focus for a sec. There we go. We're back. I used it for a very short amount of time, and I was like, yep, I'm going to colour code everything. It's going to be fantastic. It lasted about a month, if that. It was just a little too complicated for me, while I also had my teaching diary. It was just too much. And these pens have just sat in my craft room, not being used very often at all, except probably when I do my colour journal process videos here on Patreon. That's the only time I pull them out. So I think I'm going to migrate them to my normal pen container, because they're beautiful colours and they're a really thin tip, which is nice. So while I've been yakking on about pens, because I'm a stationery nerd, I have started writing with the different colours no specific colours for specific things, but I just wanted to make them different just so that I could tell which text belonged with which house. So I drew my little house there, 10 Pineview Avenue, and I also drew a couple of the neighbours that we were friends with. It's probably the only place that I've lived that we were friends with our neighbours. Let me know, are you friends with your neighbours? Where we live now, we are not. We don't know any of our neighbours. I don't know if it's just an area thing, or I don't know. We just don't know them. We don't have anything to do with them, which is sad, because I used to love, there was a couple of girls that lived up the road from me, and we were besties. And I hope that one day when we eventually can buy a house, that Archie can have some little neighbourhood friends that he can play around with, and so can baby Toomey as well. And I'm not sure if she's, if this video, I think this video is going out after she's born, because I am booked in. I know when I'm booked in to have her, but I just want to be sure that I have announced when she's arrived. So I won't say her name yet, but I'll definitely let you know. Keep an eye on my, I'll do a post on Patreon when she's here. But I would love for them to have some little neighbourhood friends. So the things that I was writing about, I of course wrote like locations. So if there was a school, if there was the mermaid pools, the name of the walking track. And then I just tried to write a little bit of anecdotal, I guess, like a sentence about each thing. So for example, there was a bit of a crazy lady that lived down the street from us, and she used to leave plastic bags full of eggshells, empty eggshells, so without the eggs in them, bags of them. I don't know what she used all of the eggs for, but she used to leave these on our back driveway and like yell strange things at us that didn't make sense, like that they weren't comprehensive sentences. And so I wanted to remember that, so I wrote about Eggshell Lady, and I also wrote about the corner shop that my dad and I used to walk down to with my dog. And my dad would, I'm such a nerd. My dad, I would beg him to buy me these little packets of used postage stamps to add to my stamp collection, which is something that I have considered diving into, because I've got a lot of extras in my postage stamp collection. I think it's still at my parents' house, and using them on some layouts, they'd be really fun in my en masse journal. Ooh, if I ever do a volume 2 en masse, I might include them in that. But now it's time for some coloured penciling. So I've got my Prismacolors, and I went with a very cartoony style. This is my favourite style to draw maps in when I was a child, and so I wanted to be true to that. And then I coloured this part in blue. I don't know why. It's houses, but I don't know why I picked blue. I think I was like, ooh, blue's pretty, let's go with that. But then I didn't like it, because I was like, oh, blue to me when I do maps means water. And so I tried rubbing it out. It didn't work. So instead I drew, there was a really cool tree that I used to love in this hill. There was a really, really steep hill, and my dad used to drive down it, not fast, but, you know, probably doing the whole speed limit down the hill. And I used to love driving down it. So instead I wrote about it, coloured it in green, and managed to cover up my little blue blooper. So then I'm just going over the top, and I have, of course, sped this up very, very fast so that you don't have to watch me tediously colouring in all of the bits and pieces. But this is something I have actually thought in the past. I would love to draw maps of, for example, the house, like where Aaron grew up, where I grew up, our first house, where we moved out together, where we got married, and then any other significant places. And I would love to make a little like a little gallery wall. I'm thinking maybe 9 little frames and have the frames small. So probably maybe a 5 by 5 or 6 by 6 inch frame. I think that would be really fun to do. Let me know if you'd like to see that project maybe next year sometime, something a little bit different. Maybe I could do also, because Archie and the new baby will be born in different hospitals, so I could do maps of the hospitals that they were born in. Yeah, I like maps, peeps. You guys know this by now. So I picked this lovely violety colour, which has been my fave colour this year. If you've watched on Insta stories, I quite often use this shade in my text, but it's definitely one of my favourite colours. It was the colour of our bridesmaids dresses, actually, and I've been in love with it ever since. So I'm just filling in these little bits. So the purple's all houses. If I was to do this again, I could also add like a colour coding key if I wanted to, but I decided that was enough, and I knew they were houses, and it was pretty obvious that they weren't tree bits, so I would think that it would look like they were housey bits. So then I went through the font book and I used 2 of my fave fonts that I used to write all of the time, and my Artline felt tip pen again, and I'm just writing a title down the bottom, and then I do speed it up very, very fast and fill in the rest of this left hand side just with some journaling about childhood memories. I moved to this house I think when I was 5 or 6, and then lived here until I was 10. I think I was 10 before we moved up to the Central Coast, which is where I am now, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from this spot here. So I consider this my childhood home, even though it wasn't my first childhood home. It's the one that I have the most memories of, and the most connection with the neighbourhood, if that makes sense. My first house, I knew one neighbour, but we didn't really, I didn't ride my bike in the street or anything like that like I did here. So I hope this video has been fun. It's something a little bit different, but I wanted to show you where it all started and what kind of shaped my style and my love of journaling. Little did I know that I would be doing this as a career path one day. I wish I could tell little Adele back then to just keep all the journals, and to, instead of doing things on scrap paper, put it in a book, put it in a journal so that you can keep it forever. Not keep it forever, but hold on to it, rather than just loose bits of paper everywhere. All right, peeps, thanks so much for joining today, and for all your support over here, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye.